I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man. I'm supposed to be going live on Instagram right now as I'm going live in many other places. And silly me. Silly me. I deleted I closed out of Instagram. So we gotta make a new one. We gotta make a new one. We've gotta make a new one. But anyways, man, so I'm here all by myself. And I'm gonna recap the NBA Finals. I'm gonna talk about what it means, what we took away from it, all of that stuff that matters. And like when I take this shot, understand I don't have to go to work tomorrow, so don't judge me. Hey, hey, hey. Nah, I'm not doing that. But new year, new me. I cut my hair. Yeah, I'm a brand new person. I'm not who I once was. I'm who I'm going to be in the future. Yes, with my with me, me taking off my hair is me walking away from that part of my life and moving forward in a new direction. But now on a serious note, let's get talking. So Father's Day just passed, and I want to take a little bit of time to reflect on Father's Day. Personally, it was my second Father's Day, and this Father's Day hit a little bit different. No, Father's Day hits a little bit different. So 2 years ago, let me get vulnerable for you all. 2 years ago, I find out that my wife is pregnant with my daughter. But prior to that, we had just, she just had a miscarriage. No, you don't know that. And I remember walking into church, the two of us together, and people in there are like saying Happy Father's Day. And it's like, yeah, nah, dog, I ain't got no kid. I ain't got no kid. And you're in there and you're feeling like all these different emotions because, again, you're coming off of a miscarriage. Thank God she miscarried early. Not saying thank God that she miscarried early in the sense that I'm thanking God that she miscarried because that's not what we wanted. But given the circumstances, happening early rather than later is so much better because there you don't have the attachment and you don't have a name, you don't have a gender, you don't have all of that stuff. You just, oh, it's a fetus, and you're trying to figure stuff out. And it's so early in the first trimester, you're like, well, we'll see what happens here. But it was a weird day for me because I've been told Happy Father's Day before, and I'm just like, yeah, dog, I ain't got no kids, whatever. But now you're saying, hey, I ain't got no kids when you thought you would be having a kid on the way, not knowing that you actually do have a child on the way. And we're walking down the steps inside the sanctuary, and like Cindy falls, she bust her ass. It's low key kind of funny. It's like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Didn't feel right, felt weird. So then we go to the store, get the test, positive, and guess what we have? We have a low. And Father's Day was always a weird thing for me. Shout out to my pops, but I didn't grow up with my dad. I didn't spend my first Father's Day to memory with my dad until I was 20. Once I was like 22. I think I was 22 when I spent that Father's Day with my dad. So it's not like the happiest holiday for me. It's just, it's a day. It's a day that matters. I would send him a card, give him a call and all of that stuff, but it just didn't resonate the same way back then as it does now. So it was just different, but it was good. It was great. It was amazing. I was so happy. I was so happy to be able to actually enjoy Father's Day. And I went to church, came home, took a nap, drank some Happy Dad seltzer when I woke up, cleaned my house, worked in my yard, smoked a cigar, and it was just like the most perfect Father's Day. So shout out to my wife, shout out to my daughter for allowing me to have like the most perfect Father's Day that a dad could ever ask for. But that's not really why y'all are here. Y'all ain't here for me to talk about Father's Day and get deep in my feelings. I'm gonna talk about the Celtics, but before we do that, let's do a quick rest in peace to Willie Mays. Want to hit that at the top of the show. 660 home runs in in Major League. The iconic over the shoulder catch, like he was the receiver. One of the greatest to ever play the game. Rest in peace to him. Uh, you'll be forever missed. And shout out to all the things that you did for Major League Baseball, black men playing baseball and growing the game. All right, let's talk about the Celtics, man. I got so many thoughts on the Celtics. I have so many thoughts on the finals. So many thoughts on Luka Doncic. We've got a packed show for you all today. Trust and believe. We have a full show for you all. So let's get to it, man. Celtics regular season 64-18. In the playoffs, they were 16-3. They played, my God, they were 16-3. They only lost 3 games. So every series was a gentleman's sweep or a sweep. They swept in the first round and gentleman's sweep the rest of the way through. Is that right? No. Gentleman's sweep first round. Gentleman's sweep second round sweep, third round gentleman's sweep in the finals. But if you look at the numbers, you look at like your point differentials, you look at their records, you look at their playoff record, they go down as a historical team. But the beauty of watching it, the beauty of being there is it gives you that perspective of statistically they were historically great, but I'm not gonna. I don't know if they beat the Nuggets of last year. I don't know if they beat the Giannis Bucks. I don't know if they beat the Bubble Lakers. I don't know if they beat Kawhi's Raptors. I don't know these things. But I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on the moment. Because too often when the finals happen, they're over. We get to talking about Pete's on hiatus. Man, sorry, he's not here. I'm by myself. But too often we focus on what's next. Let's focus on what's now. Let's not focus on are the Celtics going to stay together. Let's not focus on are they going to be a dynasty? Are they going to win 2 in a row? Are they going to win 3 in a row? Or are they going to win 2 of the next 3? Are they going to win 3 of the next 6? No. Let's just take a second and enjoy what they've did. They dominated the NBA all season. They dominated the playoffs. They had a great record against the Western Conference. They had a great record against the Eastern Conference. They had a great record at home. 37-3 at home? Something like that? Come on, man. Or 37-4? Yeah, like, let's look at that. Let's look at how great they were this year and say, hey, they were the best team all year. And they really were. I picked against them. Not going to lie to you. I picked against them. But I picked against them because I didn't believe in them. What I saw, I knew it was there, but I didn't know that would resonate. I looked at the past, and guess what? I was wrong. But it makes total sense if you think about it. It's their second trip to the finals. Dallas is first in this iteration. They've been to the Eastern Conference finals multiple times, 4 years? They earn their stripes. And typically teams don't earn their stripes this early when you look at Jaylen Brown being a 3rd overall pick, Jason Tatum being a 3rd overall pick, and they actually go to a functional franchise. But you have to remember, those weren't their picks. Those were picks that they got from the Brooklyn Nets. So they already had a functioning team. They had good players. They had a good culture. They had good chemistry. And then you add in these 2 stars potential stars who end up becoming stars to their team. So they get their playoff journey started early, but if you look at playoff games together, you go, oh no, yeah, this checks out. Yeah, time in the league says you usually don't win. You usually don't win this early, but typically players at their caliber at this time in the league aren't on good teams yet. They don't start off on good teams, so they took their licks early, and guess what? They won their championship early, deservedly so. I was wrong for my pick. I just said, hey, Luka's the best player. He gonna win. I should have said, I think Luka and Kyrie are the best offensive players. They're gonna win. But they weren't the best players. The best basketball players were on the Boston Celtics. The best basketball players in the series were Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I don't care what the numbers say. I know Luka put up stats. I know he led the finals in like points, rebounds, and assists, all of that stuff. All of that good stuff. Great. But Luka was not the best player on the court. How do I know Luka wasn't the best player on the court? Because he only played one side of the ball. Jason Tatum played defense. Jaylen Brown played defense. And also, he wasn't on the best team. You know, basketball is two sides of the court. It's not like football, where Justin Jefferson can be the best receiver in the league and his team can be terrible. His stats can drop because his quarterback isn't good, but he's still the best receiver. He's still getting open. He's still getting touchdowns. He's still getting yards. Now, see, in basketball, you have to play both sides. And, you know, I've told y'all how much I hate the best two-way player in the league. No, man, that doesn't exist here because everybody plays both ways. It's a bisexual league. So with it being a bisexual league, everybody playing both ways, we have to evaluate what players on what they do on both sides of the court. So to me, if you're the best two-way player in the league, you're the best player in the league. That's what it should be. So like when we evaluate a player, we should look at what their offense is, what their defense is, and then say, and that's how we rack and stack them. But too often, we'll say the best player in the league is the best offensive player in the league. And then we'll bring up somebody like, say, a Pete Klay Thompson. Best two-way player in the league. Okay, so he plays the best. He plays good offense. He plays good defense. His offense and his defense his rating are higher than everybody else's, but he's not the best player in the league. Yeah, no. This is a fake stat. Because some players, their offense and their covers up their lack of defense, and that's okay. But Boston was the best team. They were built properly, and you know, it's beautiful. So where do we go from here? We're not going to focus on them being a dynasty. We're not going to talk about who's going to win next year because God knows what happens once free agency hits. God knows what happens when injuries happen in the league. You don't know who's going to get hurt. You don't know who's going to be healthy. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the way that Boston built their team. Boston built their team the right way. They draft, they developed, and they added as they saw fit. We say, you know, it's a copycat league. Well, teams should actually copycat what's going on and what's winning. So I looked at the last 15 NBA champions, and if you really think about it, all of these teams draft and developed, except for the LeBron teams. This past year, Celtics Win. They're two stars. They drafted them. They developed them. And then they added additional pieces to come to that team to supplement what their stars weren't doing. You look at Denver. They drafted Jokic. They drafted Murray. They drafted Michael Porter Jr. They developed those guys. And then they brought in an Aaron Gordon. They brought in a KCP to supplement what those guys don't do. 2022, Golden State. That's that core. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. They drafted those guys. They developed those guys. And they brought in Andrew Wiggins to supplement what those guys don't do. Hell, they drafted the big fella too. Look at the Bucks. Drafted Giannis. Drafted Chris Middleton. Developed those guys. Built a core around them. Then they brought in the Drew Holidays. They brought in the Brook Lopez's. They brought in the, is Bobby Portis gonna have to choke him? To supplement what they had already drafted and developed. You go to the 2020 Lakers. They built that team through trades and free agency. Again, it's a LeBron team. Outlier. Year before, 2019 Raptors. They drafted, well, they didn't draft, but I mean, they drafted what's my man? Pascal Siakam. They brought in Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry didn't really pop until he got there. They had DeMar DeRozan. They built a core there. They had a culture. They had a way of going about it. Then they make a trade for Kawhi. That's how they win a championship. 17-18, you have the Warriors. Again, Clay, Steph, Dre. They brought in Iggy. They brought in KD. But their core was built off of players they drafted. 2016 Cavs, I mean, they drafted LeBron, but he left and he came back, which allowed them to draft the Kyrie Irving, allowed them to draft the Tristan Thompson, this, that, and the third. But nonetheless, that is a LeBron team. It was built through trades and free agency because LeBron is the outlier. The 15 Warriors. I've already stated their case. Same as the 22 Warriors. 14 Spurs. They drafted Kawhi.
Cindy Lee or Cindy Veronica Villalobos?
They drafted Kawhi. They drafted Tim Duncan. They drafted Tony Parker. So, sorry, my wife just texted me. So again, it was an established core and they supplemented with pieces. 2012, 2013 Heat, they don't count. They're LeBron teams. They're the outliers. 2011 Mavs, they drafted Dirk Nowitzki. They built around Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk was there for years, and they finally added the right pieces around Dirk to allow them to win. But again, their cornerstone was drafted and developed there. And then finally, the 2010 Lakers. Kobe Bryant. They drafted him. They built around him. You see the point I'm getting at? The key to building a championship franchise in today's NBA is not player empowerment. It's draft and develop. And you can't build your team. You can't build your culture around what's worked for LeBron James, because guess what? He's LeBron James. He's arguably the best player to ever play in the NBA. You can't use what worked for him and think it's going to work for you. That's like the three-point revolution that we've had, and teams saying, oh, we shoot more threes, we make more threes because of what the Warriors did. Well, guess what? Steph is the greatest shooter ever, and you ain't got Steph on your team. You can't take the outlier. You can't take the creme de la creme, the cream of the crop, the best of the best, and use that as a means to build your team. No, you have to do like the Boston Celtics did this past year in 2024. You have to do what the Nuggets did last year. You got to draft a guy. You got to see who he is and what he does. And you got to build around that. And once that guy shows you that he's great, you add to that team what he can't do. Jason Tatum, great scorer. Doesn't always take the best shots. Not always. He's not an alpha personality. I'm not gonna say he's not an alpha, but he's not a loud guy. So what do you need? You need veteran leaders. You need a Jaylen Brown who would just go get a bucket, an easy bucket, get to the cup, dunk on your head, lay it up. To supplement when Jason Tatum is taking sidestep threes and missing them. You need a Drew Holiday a grimy defensive player. You need a what's that man? Derek White, who would just do whatever needs to be done to win the game. You need a Kristaps Porzingis, somebody who can protect the rim, stretch the floor out, and get busy. That's what you need. And that's what Boston did. They drafted some players, and then they built around them to supplement what their best player and their second best player couldn't do. And again, I gave you the last 15 champions. You do it that way if it's not LeBron. But I could go even deeper because you go 09 Lakers, same thing, I already gave the case. 08, yeah, they brought in Paul Pierce. Excuse me, they brought in Ray Allen, they brought in Kevin Garnett, but they built it around Paul Pierce. They drafted Rajon Rondo. They drafted Kendrick Perkins. And they brought in other role players who could supplement what the stars could not do. You go to 07, you look at the Spurs. Well, I talked about the 14 Spurs. They draft and develop. You understand what I'm saying? It's not rocket science. I mean, shoot, we can go to 06. I mean, I can keep going down and tell y'all the way to win. The 06 Heat, they drafted D Wade, they developed D Wade, and they brought in Shaq, they brought in Gary Payton, they brought in Antoine Walker, but they drafted and developed D Wade. They drafted and developed Udonis Haslem, 3-time NBA champion Udonis Haslem. You go to 05, it's a Spurs finals. Pretty sure that's a Spurs championship. Spurs draft develop. 04, the Pistons, a little bit different. They brought in players, but they're an anomaly. They're not who you look at when you're talking about building a team. As far as they didn't draft Rip Hamilton, they didn't draft Chauncey Billups, they didn't draft Rasheed Wallace, they didn't draft Ben Wallace, but they got those guys in when their value was much lower, and they brought them together. 03 Spurs. Enough said. Let's see. 02. Was that the Spurs too? That's the Lakers. The Lakers. Kobe, draft develop. They brought in Big Shot Bob. They brought in Shaq. 01 Lakers. 2000 Lakers. We've talked about that. 99 Spurs. 98 Bulls. So we can go back over 20 years, and the NBA champions are regularly drafted and developed teams, unless they got LeBron. And if you think you got LeBron on your team and you're going to build around the concept of LeBron, you're not building a champion. So Jaylen Brown wins Finals MVP over Jason Tatum. Personally, I agree with it. I do think Jason Tatum is the best Celtic. I think he's number one. Their offense runs through him, but Jaylen Brown had better finals. You look at plus minus. Team was better when Jaylen Brown was on the court. You look at efficiency. Jaylen Brown was more efficient than Jason Tatum. And Jason Tatum had a great game 5, but I mean, shit, you was up 10-11. At the end of the first, you was up 21 at halftime, and you blew them out. So your numbers, your stats don't mean as much to me. But when you think about impact, Jaylen Brown making Luka inefficient. Jaylen Brown getting timely steals, fast break dunks, making timely shots. He has highlights that you can walk away from this finals with and be like, oh, yeah, that was, no. It was a Jaylen Brown show. What's the conversation, you know? Steph didn't win all the finals MVPs for the Warriors. Sometimes the best player on the team doesn't get finals MVP, and that's okay. But the most important thing is that the team won the finals. Yeah, you know what? I don't like the Celtics either, Briggs. But I do like Jalen Brown. But you just watch it, and Jalen Brown had his imprint all over it. Jason Tatum made the necessary sacrifices to be a winner. And that's great. Shout out to Jason Tatum for doing what it takes to win, because winning is the most important thing. But he wasn't the Finals MVP. It rightfully went to Jalen Brown, and Jason Tatum is still going to sign a supermax and make more money than Jalen Brown next year. And they have two guys on their roster making $300 million over the life of their contract, so they're good. Now, I'll tell you, after the championship, they put together a nice little compilation of Jason Tatum capturing his finals moments. I want to sit here and laugh at it, so let me pull it up. No, that's not what I want. This one right here. Let's go.
Oh my God. It's a surreal feeling. We did it. We did it. Oh my God, we did it. We have a resilient group. We've been through a lot as a team over this last couple years, over my 7 years. What they gonna say now? What they gonna say now?
Jason, I'm curious to know what you said to Deuce after this, but I guess I'm more curious, what did Deuce say to you?
He told me that was the best in the world. I said, you damn right I am.
All right, bet, Briggs. Thanks for tuning in. I got you, dog.
I know everybody will wonder what would happen if we didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
Hey, bro, you know when you got that friend who is way more cool when he don't speak, he just kind of stand there. You know, sometimes, in the old days, they tell a woman to be seen and not heard. That's my thought on most basketball players. Hey, bro, y'all super cool because y'all tall as hell, and some of y'all, be fly, and the women think y'all are pretty and all of that. But because y'all don't get it out the mud like the rest of us, it's in that 5'9" to 6'1" range. People who ain't just pretty or super rich, we actually gotta like talk and be personalities to woo the women. Yeah, let those guys talk. Let Drew Holiday talk. Let Derek White talk, because Jason Tatum, boy, you are a ball full of corn. I don't even know if you're a ball full of corn, boy. I think you still on the cob. You so corny, boy. You might still you might still be on the plant. You know what I'm saying? We ain't even picked you off, boy. You so damn corny. And I get it. He wants his finals moment. He wants to be Kobe, so he took the picture, all of that nonsense. I don't believe Deuce told him he's the best player in the world, and if he did, it didn't matter, because who cares what somebody's kid has to say about them? A lot of kids have positive things to say about their parents that are detached from reality. And I think that's Deuce. Jason Tatum, a great basketball player, but not the best basketball player in the world. But I had a point that I really wanted to make here that came into my mind as I was listening to it, and I don't actually remember the point that I wanted to make. Charge it to my head, not my heart. Blame the booze, not me. But no, shout out to the Celtics, man. It was great to see it. Happy that they didn't allow the media and outside noise to come in between them. Shout out to Brad Stevens for building that team. As a guy who coached that team and then goes upstairs and becomes a GM, he understands those players. He understands what they're good at, what they're bad at. So it gave him great insight on how to improve that team and bring in the right players. And maybe teams who have a great basketball mind, who's not coaching as well as they'd like, should look to move those guys into the front office because they know the players, they know the roster, they know how they react in certain situations. And having that pulse of your actual team and then knowing what they need, if you pick the right players, right? If you assume right, then you build a championship team. Shout out to the slow build. You know, Boston calls themselves Title Town. You know, they raised their 18th banner. But, you know, in my lifetime, I've only seen two. This would be the second banner I've seen in Boston. Hadn't won. They won one since 86. It's like, yeah, y'all won a lot of titles, but y'all won a lot of titles in, you know. But what I don't want us to do is I don't want us to discredit what the Celtics did. I don't care if they went through injury-ravaged teams, the injury-ravaged East, a weak East. It doesn't matter. They played who was put in front of them, and they beat them. And they beat them convincingly. And that deserves respect. Now, their record says they're an all-time team. Do I think they're an all-time championship team? Absolutely not. But do I think they're champions and they deserve the utmost respect and they're the best team in the NBA today as we sit here? Absolutely. Now, the most important part about the Celtics winning is this is a win for America. I wore this shirt intentionally so y'all can see the red, white, and the blue. Because the media was going on this whole tirade. They had this campaign saying that the NBA was a foreigners league. The international stars had taken over the NBA. Well, I'll be damned. Look at Boston. Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown, American. Best player on the team, Jason Tatum, American. Third best player on the team, Drew Holiday, American. Fourth best player on the team, Derek White, American. Kristaps Porzingis was not here too often. He's from Latvia. What's my man's name? Big Al Horford. Dominican, went to high school in America. American stars are still stars. American basketball still works. And Americans still dominate the NBA. You know, I went team by team, player by player to explain to y'all that this is still an American league. It is an American league. Yes, there are international players who are doing a great job in this league. They're winning games. They're winning awards. They're doing all of that stuff. But don't take this as an indictment on American basketball. No, American basketball is alive and well in the AAU system. Despite its problems, it's still working. So respect the American players. Because guess what? An American-based team with an American coach, American star, American superstar, American role players won the game. This is a victory lap for America. America. I'm telling you. America. America. You gonna make me play. Y'all make me play some music. Make me play some music. I got to. Because it would just be wrong if I didn't. Sorry, YouTube, I don't own the rights to this. But for everybody who listens to it on Apple, Spotify, we good, baby.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life. And I had to start all over with just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today. 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. 'Cause I'm proud.
We ain't gotta do no more. We ain't gotta do that no more.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas. Because I'm proud to be an American. From Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. All them liberals out there. There's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, we gonna stand and say, baby. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. I'm going to cut that out because I'm proud to be an American because an American-based team with American-based superstars won the NBA championship. Yes, Lord.
America. But what do we say about Luka? I mean, Luka reached the finals. Luka made the finals before Michael Jordan did. Luka made the finals before LeBron did. Luka made the finals before really any star player who we respect and love did. They didn't come to a great team that was already established. You know, Magic, Larry, a little bit different. Tatum, Brown, a little bit different. You know, that don't change my thoughts. He done made 5 first-team All-NBAs. He got more 5 straight first-team All-NBAs. He has more first-team All-NBAs than Steph Curry. And he didn't show up. I know the numbers look good, but I watched the games. He didn't show up. Style of play. I told y'all Luka can't be the best player in the NBA because of his lack of go-to move. I told y'all a long time ago that Luka was James Harden light. He may be James Harden heavy, but guess what? It's still not a championship formula. Luka is a great individual player, but see, we want to make Luka so great, and we want to down the American basketball player, but Luka is what we talk about with the American basketball player when we talk bad about the American basketball game. The individual contribution does not lead into ultimate team success. Luka doesn't play defense. I don't care what type of hurt he had, what injury he had. You know what he said? I went out there and I played, so I played. So we expect to see Luka Doncic. Luka played same level of defense that my 5'11", 178-pound ass would play out of shape. Not good. Luka is a good individual player. He is a great scorer. But Luka's James Harden. He can fill up the stat sheet like nobody else. But he don't, just because he fill up the stat sheet don't mean he win games. And he carried his team to the finals. The Hawks messed up by not keeping him. And trading for Trey Young. Yeah, absolutely. Mistake. But nah, man. He's Harden. He ain't Braun. I told y'all this a long time ago, and I ain't gonna lie, I wavered a little bit because he got to the finals. And the way he got to the finals, it was beautiful. It was excellent. And I thought he could take it over the top. But he didn't. And the problem was that his team was too Luka dependent. And unfortunately for Luka, for his team to be great, they have to be super Luka dependent. And I don't see a place right now. I don't see how you build a team that is totally Luka dependent that actually wins championships. So I'm going to say to you all, good stats, good team, no championship until he changes the way that he plays. And I think Kyrie, who did not play well in Boston, best running mate you could find for him. But you look at Derrick Jones Jr., you look at PJ Washington. I mean, they weren't great in the finals, as expected. But you can't get a Drew Holiday. You can't get a Jaylen Brown. You can't get an Al Horford. You can't get a Derek White to want to sit alongside Luka. You can't. Look at Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson goes from a number 2 who doesn't deserve a max, who did not play to max contract level, to an All NBA player the second he left Luka. A guy who got his team to the second round of the playoffs, suffered crazy injuries, and could have possibly made it to the conference finals. Luka can't be your number 1 because Luka as your number 1 hurts your number 2, your 3, your 4, your 5, your 6, your 7. You get what I'm saying? He might have to 7 through 10 if we're saying we're playing 10 men. But your number 2, your number 3, your number 4, the ones who matter, Luka doesn't necessarily make those guys better. Why? Because the ball has to be in his hands. We have to play his style. And his style is him holding the ball, ISO, high pick and roll, but I'm not really passing unless I'm passing for you to shoot right now. It's reminiscent of Chris Paul, where Chris Paul, great assist, but I've heard on good report that playing with Chris Paul is hard because Chris Paul doesn't allow you to play your game. He doesn't allow you to get in your bag because he wants you to play his way. And his way doesn't maximize you in your way. Luka the same way. Luka is going down the path of James Harden, of Chris Paul, a guy who puts up good numbers, a guy who scores a lot of points, a guy who gets a lot of assists, but he doesn't actually make his teammates better. And if that's what he's doing, that's what he's doing. But we got to take a look. We've got to evaluate Luka properly. You can put him as the top 3 player in the league. You can say, hey, oh yeah, he's a great player. But in that same conversation, you have to say that if Luka doesn't change the way that he plays the game, he's not going to win a championship. And how great are you if you are great individually, but your greatness doesn't turn into team success? It's still a team game. It's not a stats game. It's not about who acquires the best stats. It's not about who just gets the best regular season record. When we look at the greats, we look at championships. And if you don't get to 3, we'll look at you differently. And if Luka stays down the path he's going, he won't get to 1. But let's keep going. Apparently, the Lakers are going to hire JJ Redick as their head coach. Good for them. I don't know what other option they had. We didn't really believe in the Danny Hurley stuff over here. Just didn't match. It just didn't match up with what they're trying to do, win right now. And Danny Hurley is a culture builder, team builder, and that usually takes time. And LeBron does not have time. It makes sense not to hire another NBA retread who hasn't worked. Let's get a new guy, give him a chance. But first time head coaches don't necessarily work. Hopefully, JJ Redick does like Joe Mazzulla did in year 2 and builds a nice coaching staff, having the likes of Sam Cassell, having the likes of Jeff Van Gundy around to help him be a better coach. And if he does something like that, the Lakers will be okay. Clay unfollowed the Warriors. I think that's just contract negotiation nonsense. It means nothing to me. I may have talked about that, but who cares? The players don't care. They know he's just trying to get his money. And I'm more than confident that Draymond and Steph want Clay on the roster. Let's see. So, last thing I'm going to talk about here on this show is Juneteenth. We have Juneteenth coming up today. Well, tomorrow, depends on who you are and when you're. It's today. When you're listening to it, it'll be tomorrow, Juneteenth. So, this is a day where we commemorate the slaves being freed, African Americans becoming American citizens, and receiving the rights of America. It's an important day. And it's not just an important day for Black people. It's not a Black people holiday. It's an American holiday. So we need to treat it as such. Shout out to my job. I'm off tomorrow. Shout out to my daycare. My daughter's off tomorrow. So we got daddy-daughter day all day tomorrow. Absolutely beautiful. But, we should treat Juneteenth like we treat 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, any of these other holidays. So if you as a business owner, you as somebody who's running a company, a CEO, you're treating this like, it's President's Day. No, it's not. It's an important day in American history. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And Juneteenth marks the first day of people who look like me being free. Yeah, not just being free from Great Britain, England. Yeah, the Queen. No. It's about being free within this country of America. And although some of those freedoms are not present as we would love for them to be, the opportunity to attain those freedoms are there. And fortunately for me, I've had the opportunity to attain those freedoms. I lived a great life in this country and I love it here. And I wouldn't want to be from anywhere else. So let's just take some time. Let's reflect on what Juneteenth means and truly celebrate Juneteenth. Out of here.